Have you ever felt that persistent, unsettling ache? A quiet whisper in your soul suggesting that there has to be more to life than the relentless pursuit of more? It's a feeling that transcends cultures and generations. A universal longing for something deeper, something beyond the fleeting satisfaction of material success, social status, and fleeting pleasures. We live in a world obsessed with achieving, accumulating, and constantly striving. Yet so many of us find ourselves adrift in a sea of dissatisfaction, yearning for a shore of genuine meaning, a place of authentic belonging. What if I told you that the answers, the roadmap to a truly fulfilling life, have been available for over 2,000 years, whispered from a sun-drenched hillside in ancient Galilee? And what if I told you they are not confined to one specific faith, but hold wisdom for all who seek a more meaningful existence? These answers weren't etched in stone tablets or proclaimed by a conquering emperor. They were spoken softly yet with profound authority by a man who owned nothing, a wandering teacher who would forever alter the course of human history, not through force of arms, but through the transformative power of his words. He stood before a crowd of ordinary people, fishermen, farmers, tax collectors, perhaps a few outcasts, and dreamers, people from all walks of life, and delivered a message so radical, so countercultural, that it continues to challenge and inspire us to this very day. This was the Sermon on the Mount, and it is not merely a historical artifact or a religious text. It is an invitation to a life transformed, a life brimming with purpose, joy, and an unshakable inner peace that transcends circumstance, a life of true belonging. This isn't about blind faith or empty dogma. It's about a radical shift in perspective, a fundamental reevaluation of what it truly means to be human, to be happy, to be blessed. The principles unveiled in this sermon have toppled empires, not through force, but through the quiet revolution of hearts and minds. They've sparked movements of compassion and justice that have reshaped societies. They speak to the innate human desire for connection, for purpose, for a life that matters. And they hold within them the power to revolutionize your life too, if you're willing to listen with an open heart and a questioning mind. For years, I've been captivated by this ancient yet timeless discourse. As someone who has always sought deeper meaning beyond the superficiality of modern life, I found in the Sermon on the Mount a wellspring of wisdom that nourishes the soul and provides a roadmap for navigating the complexities of life. It is a guide to living with intention, with compassion, with a profound sense of connection to something larger than ourselves. I've witnessed its transformative power, not just in my own journey, but in the lives of countless others who have dared to embrace its challenging yet profoundly liberating principles. People from all walks of life, from all corners of the globe. So let us embark on this exploration together. Let us delve into the heart of the Sermon on the Mount, not as passive observers, but as active participants, ready to engage with these life-altering ideas and discover how they can illuminate our path and lead us to a life of true and lasting fulfillment, a life where we truly belong. Part 1, the Beatitudes, unveiling the paradox of true blessedness, a counter-cultural path. The Sermon on the Mount opens with a series of startling declarations known as the Beatitudes. These are not mere platitudes, they are a seismic shift in perspective, a radical redefinition of what it means to be blessed. In a world that equates blessedness with wealth, power, and status, Jesus turns the tables, lifting up those who are often overlooked, marginalized, or even deemed unsuccessful by conventional standards. He paints a picture of a different kind of kingdom, one where the values are radically different from the world's. Blessed are the poor in spirit, he begins, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is not a glorification of material poverty. Rather, it speaks to a poverty of spirit, a humility that recognizes our deep spiritual need. It's an acknowledgement that we are not self-sufficient, that true fulfillment cannot be found in possessions or achievements alone. It's about understanding that we are part of something larger than ourselves, that we are interconnected with all beings. Imagine the successful entrepreneur who, despite having amassed a fortune, feels a gnawing emptiness within. Or consider the social media influencer, surrounded by adoring fans, yet feeling utterly alone. This is the poverty of spirit Jesus speaks of, A realization that material success or external validation alone cannot satisfy the deepest longings of the human heart, the longing for connection, for meaning, for purpose. This isn't about self-loathing. It's about an honest assessment of our human condition, an understanding that true fulfillment comes from connection, purpose, and meaning, not from accumulation. It's about recognizing our need for something more, something transcendent, something that connects us to the web of life. Blessed are those who mourn, Jesus continues, for they will be comforted. In a culture that often pressures us to suppress pain and project an image of constant happiness, this statement is a balm to the soul. It validates our grief, our sorrow, our vulnerability. It assures us that it's okay to mourn, to feel pain, to acknowledge loss. And it promises comfort, not in the absence of pain, but in the midst of it. Think of the parent who has lost a child, a pain beyond words. Yet in that very pain, there is often a deepening of compassion, a newfound appreciation for the fragility of life, and a connection to a community of support. Or consider the refugee, forced to flee their home and everything they know. Their mourning is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to their capacity to love deeply, to form attachments, to feel the pain of loss. This beatitude reminds us that grief is a natural part of the human experience, and that in acknowledging our pain, we open ourselves to the possibility of healing and connection. It tells us that even in our darkest moments, we are not alone. Blessed are the meek, Jesus declares, for they will inherit the earth. Meekness is not weakness. It is strength under control. It's the ability to be gentle, even when provoked. It's choosing humility over arrogance, peace over aggression. In a world that often celebrates dominance and force, Jesus elevates a different kind of power. The power of gentleness, the power of restraint, the power of love. Consider the legacy of peacemakers like Mahatma Gandhi, whose commitment to nonviolent resistance helped to liberate India from colonial rule. Or think of Malala Yousafzai, who despite being shot for advocating for girls' education, continues to speak out with courage and compassion. Their meekness, their refusal to meet violence with violence, was not a sign of weakness, but of profound strength, a strength rooted in love and a deep commitment to justice. This principle teaches us that true power lies not in domination, but in service, not in aggression, but in understanding, not in force, but in the quiet strength of a gentle spirit. It is about building bridges, not walls. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, Jesus proclaims, for they will be filled. This is not a passive yearning for a better world. It's an active, passionate pursuit of justice, of fairness, of righteousness. It's a commitment to making a difference, to standing up for what is right, even when it's difficult or unpopular. It's a hunger that can only be satisfied by actively working to create a more just and compassionate world, a world where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Imagine the environmental activist who dedicates their life to protecting the planet for future generations. Or consider the human rights lawyer who works tirelessly to defend the rights of the oppressed, even at great personal risk. Their hunger for righteousness is not a mere sentiment. It's a driving force that compels them to action, that fuels their commitment to creating a better world. It is about living with integrity and aligning our actions with our values. Blessed are the merciful, Jesus says, for they will be shown mercy. Mercy is more than just a feeling, it's an action. It's choosing to forgive when we have every right to hold a grudge. It's extending compassion even to those who have wronged us. It's understanding that everyone makes mistakes and that everyone deserves a second chance. Think of the restorative justice programs that bring victims and offenders together, not to simply punish, but to facilitate healing and reconciliation. Or consider the story of Jean Valjean in Les Miserables, who, after being imprisoned for stealing a loaf of bread, is shown mercy by a kind bishop, an act that transforms his life and sets him on a path of redemption. Mercy is not about condoning wrongdoing. It's about recognizing our shared humanity, our capacity for both good and evil, and choosing to extend compassion even when it's difficult. It is about breaking the cycle of retribution and choosing a path of healing and restoration. Blessed are the pure in heart, Jesus asserts, for they will see God. This is a call to inner purity, to integrity, to authenticity. It's about aligning our inner and outer selves, living with honesty and sincerity, even when no one is watching. It's about cultivating a heart that is free from deceit, hypocrisy, and selfish ambition. In a world of carefully crafted online personas and social pretense, this beatitude is a powerful reminder that true character is revealed not in the image we project, but in the integrity of our hearts. Imagine the individual who consistently acts with honesty in their business dealings, even when it means foregoing a lucrative opportunity. Or consider the artist who creates from a place of genuine self-expression, rather than seeking to please critics or conform to trends. Their purity of heart is not about outward piety. It's about a deep commitment to living truthfully and authentically, allowing their inner light to shine through their actions. It is about being true to oneself and living with integrity. Blessed are the peacemakers, Jesus declares, for they will be called children of God. Peacemaking is not passive, it's an active, intentional pursuit of reconciliation, harmony, and understanding. It's about building bridges, mediating conflicts, and fostering dialogue. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and working to create a world where differences are celebrated, not condemned, where conflicts are resolved through dialogue and understanding, not through violence and aggression. Think of the diplomats who work tirelessly to prevent wars and negotiate peace agreements. Or consider the community organizers who bring together people from different backgrounds to address common challenges, fostering dialogue and understanding across divides. Their peacemaking efforts are not about avoiding conflict, but about transforming it into an opportunity for growth and understanding, for building a more just and peaceful world. It is about creating spaces for dialogue and understanding. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, Jesus concludes, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is a reminder that standing up for what is right is not always easy. It may involve facing opposition, ridicule, or even persecution. But Jesus assures us that our reward lies not in earthly accolades, but in the eternal kingdom of heaven. This beatitude is a source of strength and encouragement for those who face adversity because of their commitment to justice, truth, and righteousness. It reminds us that our ultimate allegiance is to a higher power and that our true reward is not of this world. Think of the countless individuals throughout history who have risked their lives to fight for freedom, equality, and justice. The abolitionists who fought to end slavery, the civil rights activists who marched for equality, the whistleblowers who exposed corruption. They faced persecution, but their courage and commitment to righteousness have inspired generations and continue to shape our world for the better. Their reward is not in earthly recognition, but in the knowledge that they stood on the side of what is right and just. Part 2. Love and Forgiveness. The Heart of a Revolution. A Radical Ethic. Having laid the foundation of true blessedness, Jesus moves on to the core of his message, a revolutionary approach to relationships built on the radical principles of love and forgiveness. He challenges the deeply ingrained eye for an eye mentality that had governed human interactions for centuries, offering instead a path of non-retaliation, reconciliation, and unconditional love. This is not a passive acceptance of injustice, but a radical ethic that has the power to transform individuals and societies. You have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. This is not an endorsement of passivity or weakness in the face of violence or oppression. It's a call to break the cycle of violence and revenge that perpetuates suffering and division. It's about choosing a higher path, a path of nonviolent resistance that disarms aggression and opens the door to dialogue and understanding. It is a call to respond to evil with good. Imagine a situation where someone insults you publicly, seeking to provoke a reaction. Your natural instinct might be to retaliate, to defend your honor with a sharp retort, to engage in a battle of words. But Jesus' teaching challenges us to respond differently, to absorb the insult without returning it in kind. This is not about being a doormat, it's about refusing to be defined by the negativity of others. It's about choosing to respond in a way that reflects our own values, our commitment to peace and reconciliation. By turning the other cheek, we create an opportunity for the aggressor to reconsider their actions, to perhaps even feel a pang of remorse or shame. We disrupt the expected pattern of escalation, breaking the chain reaction of negativity and creating space for healing and understanding. It is a demonstration of strength, not weakness. But Jesus goes even further, pushing the boundaries of conventional morality. Love your enemies, he commands, and pray for those who persecute you. This is perhaps the most radical, the most challenging, the most counterintuitive teaching in the entire Sermon on the Mount. It flies in the face of our natural instincts for self-preservation and our desire for retribution. Yet it is at the very heart of Jesus' message of transformative love, a love that extends beyond the boundaries of family, tribe, and nation, a love that embraces even those who seek to harm us. Loving our enemies does not mean condoning their harmful behavior or excusing their actions. It does not mean allowing ourselves to be abused or exploited. It means recognizing the inherent humanity in even those who have wronged us, even those who seem to be our enemies. It means choosing to see them not as monsters, but as flawed individuals capable of redemption, capable of change. It means hoping for their transformation, even when they seem irredeemable, even when they show no signs of remorse. And it means praying for them, not for their punishment, but for their healing, for their awakening, and for their eventual recognition of the error of their ways. It is about recognizing our shared humanity. Consider the extraordinary example of Immaculée Ilabagisa, a Rwandan genocide survivor who lost her family to the horrific violence. In her book, Left to Tell, she recounts the agonizing experience of hiding in a tiny bathroom with 7 other women for 91 days, while killers hunted them outside. Yet amidst this unimaginable trauma, she made a conscious decision to forgive the people who had murdered her loved ones. She understood that holding on to hatred and resentment would only destroy her, while forgiveness offered a path to healing and liberation. Her story is a powerful testament to the transformative power of loving one's enemies, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of profound courage and spiritual strength. It is about choosing hope over despair. Jesus himself provides the ultimate example of this radical love and forgiveness. As he hung on the cross, suffering unimaginable agony, betrayed by his friends, mocked by his enemies, he uttered the words, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." This was not a forgiveness grudgingly given. It was a forgiveness freely offered, a forgiveness that flowed from a heart overflowing with love and compassion, even for those who were crucifying him. It was a forgiveness that transcended human understanding, a forgiveness that had the power to redeem the world. It is a forgiveness that sets us free. This kind of forgiveness is not just a nice idea or a lofty ideal. It's a transformative power, a force for healing and reconciliation. It has the power to heal not only the forgiven, but also the forgiver. When we hold on to anger, resentment, and bitterness, we are the ones who suffer. We become trapped in a prison of our own making, a prison built with the bricks of past hurts and fueled by the flames of unforgiveness. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks that prison. It liberates us from the chains of the past, from the tyranny of resentment, and allows us to move forward with freedom, peace, and a renewed capacity for love. It is a journey of liberation. Part 3. Integrity and the Inner Life, Cultivating a Pure Heart. The Wellspring of Action. Jesus' teachings extend beyond our external actions to the very core of our being. He places great emphasis on the importance of inner purity, integrity, and authenticity, challenging us to align our inner and outer lives. He calls us to cultivate a pure heart, recognizing that our actions flow from the wellspring of our inner being. Blessed are the pure in heart, he declares, for they will see God. This is not about outward piety or religious ritual. It's about the inner landscape of our hearts, the motivations and intentions that drive our actions. It's about cultivating a heart that is free from deceit, hypocrisy, and selfish ambition, a heart that is aligned with truth, love, and compassion. In a world that often rewards pretense and superficiality, this call to purity of heart is a radical challenge. We are constantly bombarded with messages that encourage us to project a certain image, to conform to societal expectations, to prioritize external appearances over inner character. We curate our online personas, carefully selecting the images and information we share, often creating a distorted or idealized version of ourselves. But Jesus reminds us that true character is not about the mask we wear or the image we project, but about the person we are when no one is watching, about the integrity of our hearts. It is about being true to ourselves. Integrity means being the same person in private as we are in public. It means living with honesty and transparency, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. It means aligning our actions with our values, even when it comes at a personal cost, even when it means going against the flow. It means having the courage to stand up for what we believe in, even when we stand alone. It is about living with authenticity. Consider the example of a whistleblower who exposes corruption within a company, even though it means risking their job, their reputation, and potentially their safety. Their actions are driven not by a desire for personal gain or recognition, but by a commitment to truth and justice, by an inner compass that points them toward what is right, regardless of the consequences. They choose to act with integrity, even when it's costly, because they understand that a clear conscience is more valuable than any earthly reward, that living in alignment with their values is essential to their well-being. This is also true in our personal lives. Imagine a friend who chooses to be honest with you, even when it is difficult. Purity of heart is also connected to our ability to see God, to perceive the divine presence in our lives and in the world around us. It's about cultivating a spiritual awareness, a sensitivity to the subtle promptings of the Spirit, to the interconnectedness of all things. When our hearts are cluttered with negativity, selfishness, and deceit, we are less able to perceive the divine, less attuned to the still, small voice within. But when we cultivate a pure heart, when we strive to live with integrity and authenticity, we create space for God to work in and through us. We become more receptive to the beauty and wonder of the world, more attuned to the needs of others, more aware of the divine spark within ourselves and within every human being. It is like opening our eyes to see the world around us, to see the divine in the ordinary. Part 4. Trust in the present moment. Letting go of anxiety, finding peace in the now. Anxiety is a pervasive problem in our modern world. We are constantly bombarded with information, with demands on our time and attention, with pressures to succeed, to achieve, to acquire. We worry about our finances, our relationships, our health, our future. We are often caught in a cycle of rumination about the past or apprehension about the future, robbing us of the peace and joy that can only be found in the present moment. Jesus addresses this issue directly, offering a powerful antidote: radical trust in God's provision and a conscious choice to live fully in the present moment. This is a call to a deeper faith. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Jesus asks. He then points to the natural world as an example of God's providential care. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? This is not a call to irresponsibility or a dismissal of the importance of planning for the future. It's an invitation to cultivate a deep trust in a higher power, a belief that we are not alone in our struggles, that we are cared for, that our needs will be met, even if we don't know exactly how. It's about recognizing that our worth is not defined by our possessions or our achievements, but by our inherent value as children of God, as part of a larger, interconnected web of life. It is about surrendering our anxieties to a higher power. Imagine a single parent struggling to make ends meet, working multiple jobs, yet still overwhelmed with worry about how they will provide for their children. Jesus' teaching offers a powerful source of comfort and hope. It reminds them that they are not alone, that they are loved and supported by a higher power, that their needs will be met, even if they don't know exactly how. This trust does not eliminate the need for hard work and responsible planning, but it frees them from the crippling grip of anxiety and allows them to approach their challenges with a sense of peace and confidence, knowing that they are not solely responsible for the outcome. It is about finding peace in the midst of uncertainty. Jesus then delivers a powerful imperative. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. This is a call to live fully in the present moment, to focus on today's challenges and joys without being burdened by the uncertainties of the future. It is an invitation to savor each moment. In our fast-paced, future-oriented society, this teaching is a radical departure from the norm. We are constantly encouraged to plan ahead, to set goals, to strive for future success, to anticipate and prepare for every possible contingency. But in our relentless pursuit of tomorrow, we often miss the beauty and the blessings of today. We become so preoccupied with what might happen that we fail to appreciate what is happening right now, in this very moment. We are always living in the future, never in the present. Living in the present moment does not mean abandoning our responsibilities or neglecting to plan for the future. It means consciously choosing to focus our attention on the here and now, to savor the simple joys of life, to be fully present in our relationships, to appreciate the beauty of the world around us, to engage fully in whatever task is at hand. It means taking things one day at a time, trusting that each day will bring what is needed for that day. It means setting aside our anxieties about the future and our regrets about the past and choosing to be fully present in the only moment that truly exists. Now, it is about finding joy in the ordinary. Think of a child engrossed in play, completely absorbed in the present moment, but oblivious to the worries and concerns of the adult world. They are not worried about tomorrow or regretting yesterday. They are fully alive, fully present, experiencing the joy and wonder of the present moment. This is the kind of childlike trust and presence that Jesus invites us to cultivate. It is about reclaiming the joy of being alive. Part 5. True wealth, investing in the eternal. A different kind of treasure. Our society is obsessed with material wealth. We are constantly bombarded with messages that equate happiness with possessions, that define success in terms of financial achievement, that encourage us to accumulate more and more, to consume more and more. We are often led to believe that our worth is determined by our net worth, that our value as human beings is tied to our material possessions. Jesus challenges this materialistic worldview, inviting us to redefine our understanding of true wealth and to invest in treasures that are eternal, not temporal, treasures that cannot be taken away from us. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This is not a condemnation of material possessions in themselves. It's a call to examine our priorities, to recognize that true wealth lies not in what we accumulate, but in who we are and how we live, in the quality of our relationships, in the depth of our compassion, in the richness of our inner lives. It's about understanding that earthly treasures are fleeting and ultimately unsatisfying, while the treasures of the heart, love, compassion, kindness, generosity, forgiveness, integrity, are eternal and infinitely more valuable. They are the treasures that truly enrich our lives and the lives of others. Imagine two individuals, both financially successful. One dedicates their life to accumulating more and more wealth, constantly striving for a bigger house, a fancier car, a more prestigious title, constantly comparing themselves to others, never feeling truly satisfied. The other, while enjoying a comfortable lifestyle, chooses to use their resources to make a difference in the lives of others. They support charitable causes, they mentor young people, they invest in their community, they use their time and talents to serve those in need. Who is truly richer? According to Jesus' teaching, it is the latter. The one who invests in earthly treasures may find themselves constantly anxious about losing what they have, constantly striving for more, never truly satisfied, always looking for the next acquisition to fill the void within. The one who invests in heavenly treasures, on the other hand, experiences the deep and lasting joy that comes from giving, from serving, from making a positive impact on the world. Their wealth is not measured in dollars, but in the richness of their relationships, the depth of their compassion, the breadth of their generosity, and the legacy of love they leave behind. Their life is characterized by meaning, purpose, and a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from living for something larger than themselves. They are investing in something that lasts. Jesus makes it clear that we cannot serve two masters. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. This is not a call to renounce all material possessions or to live in poverty. It's a call to choose our ultimate allegiance, to decide what will be the guiding principle of our lives. Will we be driven by the pursuit of wealth and status, by the insatiable desire for more, or will we be guided by the principles of God's kingdom, love, justice, compassion, and service? Will our lives be defined by what we own or by who we are and how we treat others? It is about choosing what truly matters. Part 6. The Lord's Prayer. A blueprint for connection and transformation. A path to intimacy with the divine. In the midst of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus offers his disciples a model prayer, a blueprint for how to communicate with God. This prayer, commonly known as the Lord's Prayer, is not merely a set of words to be recited by rote. It is a profound expression of our relationship with God and a guide for how we should live our lives. It is a path to intimacy with the divine, a way to align our will with God's will, a source of strength and guidance. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. The prayer begins with an intimate yet reverent address to God. We are invited to approach God not as a distant, unapproachable deity, but as a loving Father, a source of unconditional love and acceptance. Yet we also acknowledge his holiness, his otherness, his majesty, his transcendence. We recognize that we are in the presence of the sacred. This sets the tone for the entire prayer, reminding us that we are entering into a sacred conversation, a communion with the divine. It is a recognition of both intimacy and awe. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. This is not a passive wish for a better future. It's an active commitment to participate in bringing about God's kingdom here and now. It's a prayer for God's will to be done in our lives, in our communities, and in the world. It's a recognition that true fulfillment comes not from pursuing our own selfish desires, but from aligning ourselves with God's purposes, from seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness. It is a commitment to be co-creators with God in building a better world, a world characterized by love, justice, and peace. It is about aligning our will with God's will. Give us today our daily bread. This is a prayer for provision, a recognition of our dependence on God for our basic needs. It's a reminder to be grateful for what we have and to trust that God will provide for us one day at a time. It frees us from the anxiety of constantly striving for more, from the fear of scarcity, and allows us to live with a spirit of contentment and gratitude, appreciating the simple gifts of life. It is a prayer of trust and dependence. And forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. This is a prayer for forgiveness, but it comes with a condition, a profound and challenging condition. We are asking God to forgive us to the same extent that we forgive others. This is a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of forgiveness, of the inseparable link between receiving forgiveness and extending it. We cannot expect to receive forgiveness if we are unwilling to extend it to those who have wronged us. It is a call to examine our hearts, to release any bitterness or resentment we may be holding towards others, to break the cycle of unforgiveness that poisons our relationships and hinders our spiritual growth. It is about extending grace to others, just as we have received grace from God, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. This is a prayer for protection and acknowledgement of our vulnerability to temptation and our need for God's guidance and strength. It's a recognition that we cannot overcome evil on our own, that we need divine assistance to navigate the challenges and temptations of life, to resist the forces that seek to lead us astray. It is a prayer for discernment, for the wisdom to choose the right path, and for the strength to resist the allure of evil. It is about relying on God's strength, not our own. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. The prayer concludes with a doxology, a powerful affirmation of God's sovereignty, power, and eternal glory. It's a reminder that ultimately everything belongs to God, that all power and glory are His, that our lives find their true meaning and purpose in Him. It is a statement of praise and adoration, a fitting conclusion to a prayer that encompasses the full spectrum of human need and aspiration. It is about giving God the glory in all things. Part 7. Judgment, Empathy, and the Path of Compassion. Seeing through the eyes of love. As the Sermon on the Mount draws to a close, Jesus addresses the issue of judgment, calling us to a radical empathy and a deep awareness of our own flaws before we attempt to correct the flaws of others. He challenges our tendency to be critical and judgmental, inviting us instead to cultivate a spirit of compassion and understanding. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. This is not a prohibition against discernment or a call to ignore wrongdoing or to be naive. It's a warning against hypocrisy, a call to self-reflection, and an invitation to approach others with humility and compassion, recognizing that we are all flawed, that we all make mistakes, that we are all in need of grace. It's so easy to point out the faults of others, to criticize their behavior, to condemn their choices, to see ourselves as somehow superior. But Jesus challenges us to first examine our own lives, to recognize our own imperfections, to acknowledge that we are not in a position to judge others from a place of moral superiority. We are all sinners in need of redemption. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? This vivid and humorous metaphor underscores the absurdity of our tendency to focus on the minor flaws of others while remaining blind to our own glaring shortcomings. It's a call to rigorous self-examination, to a willingness to confront our own weaknesses and biases before we attempt to correct the behavior of others. It is a call to humility. Imagine a situation where you are quick to criticize a colleague for their poor performance on a project, their lack of attention to detail, their failure to meet a deadline. But before you offer your critique, Jesus' teaching challenges you to first examine your own work. Have you been performing at your best? Have you made any mistakes? Are there areas where you could improve? Have you been as diligent and meticulous as you expect others to be? This process of self-reflection can dramatically change the way we approach others. Instead of coming from a place of judgment and condemnation, we can offer our feedback with humility and empathy, recognizing that we are all works in progress, that we all have areas where we can grow and improve. It is about seeing ourselves as we truly are. Jesus does not tell us to ignore the faults of others or to refrain from offering constructive criticism. He simply instructs us to remove the plank from our own eye first, so that we can see clearly to help our brother remove the speck from theirs. This means that our attempts to correct others should always be motivated by love and a genuine desire to help, not by a sense of superiority or a desire to condemn, not by a need to feel better about ourselves by putting others down. It means approaching others with compassion and understanding, recognizing that we are all on a journey of growth and that we all need support and encouragement along the way. It is about offering help, not condemnation. Conclusion: the enduring invitation, a call to a transformed life. The Sermon on the Mount is not a set of rules to be followed, but a set of principles to be lived, a way of being in the world. It is a call to transformation, to a radical reorientation of our lives, to a new way of seeing ourselves, others, and the world around us. We have journeyed through a landscape of radical teachings that challenge our assumptions, overturn our priorities, and invite us into a new way of being. From the paradoxical blessedness of the Beatitudes to the revolutionary call to love our enemies. From the emphasis on inner purity to the invitation to radical trust. From the redefinition of true wealth to the blueprint for prayer. And finally, to the call for empathy and compassion. The Sermon on the Mount offers a comprehensive vision of a life lived in alignment with the principles of God's kingdom, a life characterized by love, justice, peace, and joy. But these teachings are not meant to be merely admired from a distance. to be studied as an academic exercise, or to be relegated to the realm of abstract ideals. They are meant to be embodied, to be integrated into the very fabric of our daily lives, to shape our thoughts, our words, and our actions. They are an invitation to a journey of transformation, a journey that begins with a single step, a single decision to live differently, to choose love over hate, forgiveness over resentment, humility over pride, generosity over greed, trust over anxiety, and an empathy over judgment. It is a call to live with intention, with purpose, with a deep awareness of our interconnectedness with all beings. The question is not whether we understand these teachings intellectually, but whether we are willing to allow them to transform us from the inside out, to reshape our hearts and minds, to mold us into the people we were created to be. Are we willing to embrace the challenge of living a life that is countercultural, a life that prioritizes the eternal over the temporal, a life that is marked by love, compassion, and a deep commitment to justice and righteousness? Are we willing to take the risk of living a life that is truly different, a life that reflects the radical love and grace that Jesus embodied and taught? The journey will not be easy. It will require constant vigilance, a willingness to confront our own weaknesses, a commitment to ongoing growth and transformation, a daily surrender to a higher power. But the rewards are immeasurable. For the Sermon on the Mount is not just a blueprint for a better life, it is an invitation to experience the fullness of life, the abundant life that Jesus promised to those who follow him, a life of deep and lasting joy, a life of authentic connection,